Okay, let's resituate, and all that is I broke my tripod just prior to going live, which was not fun. So yeah. Um, so I probably look hideous, and if you notice that I'm speaking differently, it's because I have this wonderful, like, nightmare pain going on the side of my mouth. Um, and I cannot get into an oral surgeon until June, which should make life really fantastic until then. So I wanted to talk about this topic because it's something that constantly comes up in every group that I'm in a lot of people that I meet, people I know, and it is magic without excuses. I am looking for my matches because I'm trying to light my amazing mugwort cigarette. If you guys don't know, I've been smoking these probably since November, just after Aries passed away, when I began my experimentations with mugwort, which I will talk about at another time. But yeah, I'm looking for my matches, and I don't know what I did with them. I thought they were right here, but I guess they were not. Oh, they're right here. Okay, so if you guys are like looking on the chat or talking on the chat, I will respond to comments after. I really can't do that right now because I'm recording from my phone, which it's not really conducive to recording and chatting at the same time. Especially with as crappy as my internet connection is. So I did want to discuss how to even begin. Okay, so a lot of times when I hear people say, oh, like there was somebody I used to talk to that we used to talk to, a couple years back, and her thing was always, oh, they don't make that in my area. Oh, I can't get that. Oh, I guess I have to wait till I can get these things until I can be, so I can be a witch. I guess I'm not a witch without these things. And the subject and topic of tools and witchery is like done to death, and I'm not trying to rehash that. Instead of talking about what you don't need to have or you should have or whatever, I just want to talk about out of the box thinking when it comes to making magic. And one of the things that the biggest hindrances to making magic is the excuses I hear. Oh, I can't buy candles in my neighborhood. Oh, I can't find the right book. Oh my gosh, that one drives me up a wall because, honey, witches have been doing it without books for centuries, and the books that you are learning from are things that they wrote down and passed down from generation to generation. Not because they had a book that told them, but because they had their intuition. And what I think is missing a lot in magic these days is intuition. Like, go with your gut. Let your inner compass tell you where you need to be, what you need to be using, what you need to be doing, all that kind of stuff. Never be afraid to just play with things in the vein of casting a spell. If for some reason you want to do a money spell, or you need to do a money spell, and you have this calling to use certain things, well, do it. And then if you should so happen to be searching on the internet and find out that what you went with in your gut was the right choice, it's just going to build that bravado to try new things. Sometimes the things that we often associate spells with are totally different than anything else that we've come into contact with via books or what have you. So never be afraid to just go with your gut and go with what feels right. Sorry, these are kind of a bitch to light. So, like, this whole experimentations with mugwort that happened after I lost Aries, and for those of you guys who don't know, I think I talked a little bit about it, but a couple months ago now, I lost my cat, my familiar, of 18 years, and it's been hard. But right after her death is when I started some major herbal experimentations, because I was called to. And so I did, and they've been pretty interesting, and I'll talk about them at some point. And this is just not gonna light. I might have packed it too tight. You can do any type of magic without any type of candles or books or what have you. Just go with your intuition and let your intuition guide you. Let your intuition tell you what you need to be using at any given time. There are tons of different ways to make magic. One of the things that I do now that I'm in a studio, so in the studio that I'm in, you cannot smoke, you cannot vape or anything, but you can light incense. Hence, these work just fine in my situation. But because the herbs that I use have been blessed and, cleansed and consecrated to whatever it is that I'm doing, then what I then do with the ashes, and I might show you later, is there are writings all over my walls in these ashes that I do, and every new moon I replenish them. The one thing I won't show you is my home rune, but so yeah, like I take, and since these herbs are sacred and they're used for a sacred purpose, then I take those ashes and I do runes, I do like my monthly motto, or whatever it is that I'm working on magically that month. I'll have some association right there on my door as I'm walking out into the world, so it's the last thing I see before I leave my home, to remind me this is what I'm working on when I'm out in the universe. And that's magic. It gives me a guiding focus and something that I'm working on. It's as simple and as meaningful as you make it, or as complex and convoluted as you can make it become. It's just all in the way that you see what you do. Everything I do is magic. When I'm breathing, it's magic. When I'm walking, it's magic. When I'm thinking, it's magic. Everything that I do is magic, which is why I'm careful about the person that I am, because that's how far the rabbit hole goes for me. Like, if I turn into this like petty Betty bullshit person who is just, constantly rallying my troops against some weaker force or whatever, or this person that I don't like, then what kind of witch am I? You know what I mean? Like, it's in everything I do. So everything I do is powerful for me because I always keep that in mind. So when I hear people, and this is why it becomes suspicious to me. Like, I'll see it in these groups, and it's not always the case. I mean, sometimes you need an idea or a jumping off point, but a lot of times I see in these groups, oh, I don't have the money for blah, blah, blah. I need to do this spell and I don't have the money for candles. I need to do this spell and I don't have a big enough space, or I don't have the tools. And a lot of times I have found that it's people fishing for gifts, which I think is deplorable. I mean, if someone out of the goodness of their heart says, hey, you know, I've been watching you for a while, or hey, we've been talking for a while, I want to send you something, that's one thing. But like gift fishing on groups and stuff or on YouTube is just something that I'm like, you know, I see a lot of people do it. They exploit the goodness of their, you know, fellow witches or light workers or whatever. It's just, it's shameful. So I'm judging you in my head a little bit. And those of you who do it, you know who you are. But it's like if you want to do something, if you want to bring something into fruition and you've got that will behind it, nothing is going to stop you. If you want something in your existence, nothing is going to stop you. Anyone who knows me in real life knows that a year ago I was living in a fucking tin can and I was impoverished beyond belief. Like, I mean, I had a home over my head, but that's because my landlady was gracious enough to let me, you know, not pay as much rent as I was contractually obligated to. And I hated that. I hated myself for that because I tried to honor all of my contracts. And I did want to leave when I was first out of work. But she was really nice about it. And that's why I stayed as long as I was able. But this time last year, I was making plans to not be in that situation anymore. It's like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get from where I am? That's the soccer stadium, if you guys can hear that. How am I going to get to where I am, from where I am to where I want to be? A whole new state, a whole new life, a whole new status of living. And I did it because I wanted it. And I worked it out, and I wasn't taking no for an answer. And there were so many times my fucking success rune broke on me, and I'm like, nope, I do not accept that. And I kept on. And like everything was like, nope, you're not gonna do it, you're not gonna do it. And I'm like, yes I am, yes I am, and yes I freaking did. Now, where I am in life is amazing. There was a lot of sacrifice, and I'll get into that kind of stuff later, but, you know, where I am now is amazing. And I'm, you know, doing very well. But I had to want that. And I had to work on that. And I had to figure out how I was going to get it done. And no amount of candles or books or incense or whatever made that happen. It was me. It was my incessant will, my unstoppable determination to get out of that place and to get into a place where I could afford to live. So if you guys are out there and you're in a country or a predicament where you're not working or you're just in a bad financial situation and you think you can't work magic, believe me, you can. If you have cornmeal, okay, you can buy cornmeal at the store for about $1. I've done some of my most powerful planetary magic tracing out planetary sigils with cornmeal. You can do a veve with cornmeal or with rice or with anything, you know. It doesn't matter really what you have. It's how you make it work for you. And at the end of the day, it's the will. It's the will that you continuously put out there that says, no, I don't care what I'm being told. This is what I want. And for bad or for good, this is what I want. If I had stayed in that situation, might Aries still be alive? I don't know. Maybe, but maybe not. Sorry, my battery was telling me it was low. If I, you know, if I was still living in that situation, you know, like, would I have still been doing videos? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? I don't look at that as like it's not, it's a non-entity to me, because what mattered was is that we all moved forward, and that's what I was about. And I can't sit here playing what ifs, because I'm in what has been and what will be. So I don't know, the best that I can tell you is, if before you go into your to your friends or to a group or whatever, and be like, hey, I just can't do it, I want this to happen and I just can't do it, I don't have the monetary possessions that I need to make this happen. Just rethink that a bit. What can you do? Like I've shown you in the past, like on the biophilic alternative, you can do sigils in the dirt. You can like take them. I mean, even if I don't know. I mean, it's a stretch, but I mean, even if you have like cigarettes, use those ashes to write on your walls. Like, the cool thing about working in ashes is that it washes right off. I can do any kind of sigil anywhere on my wall and it washes right off. Just take some advice and don't, hang on. Got ashes on the floor. Don't use Palo Santo to draw on your walls with the ashes, because 9 times out of 10 you'll chip the paint and you'll have to repaint. There is a pentacle somewhere on one of my walls where I was a little heavy-handed with my Palo Santo, and now I have to paint in the wall a little bit because you can still kind of see the remnants of it. So where there's a will, there is magic that will come to fruition. It's just all within what you are capable of constructing and executing. So I think I'm gonna do a little series about how I do some of the magic that I do without candles or without the use of things like that, which people might not have. I'm actually going to stand up a minute and show you. I'm hoping the camera's on the other side here. Okay, did it go now? Okay, oh, there we go. Okay, so, sorry, I lost you there for a minute. All right, so I'm gonna bring you over here. I'm gonna bring you over here, and I'm gonna flip this around. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I do. So, like, this is like my little thing here where it just says triumph, prosper, and thrive. And this is just kind of some of the stuff that I do. And then, like, I have other stuff. I have other stuff around my house that has, like, runes. I'm walking on my bed. It works, it just works. Hold on, I have to resituate you guys. So if you don't have, and I look a fright, hold on, there we go. So if you don't have like all the money in the world to spend on like magical supplies, and you see haul after haul and it discourages you, really don't worry about it, because you can work magic with anything. Ashes, I found, are so cathartic, and they're just like, I don't know, there's just something about drawing in ashes that's I don't know, it's really just kind of cleansing for me. And I use them all the time now. And then, like, I'll do another video and I'll talk about some of the other ways that I work magic without, like, just without any, like, tools. It's just, you have to know that the magic comes from you. And no matter what else happens, no matter what, what you feel like you're being told, you just have to trust you. That's all that matters, is that you trust you. And you continue to build that momentum and live like everything you do is magic. And I'm not kidding when I say everything that I do is magic. And that makes the magic, when I'm actually attempting to bring something to fruition, it makes it that much stronger because I live as a magical being. I protect myself as a magical being. I cast away and they cast out, you know, in return, like negativity as a magical being. Everything I do is always cognizant of that fact. And that really helps to build the momentum of all the other things that you try to put forth. So start by thinking about yourself as a magical being. That's the first part of making anything you want to do strong and come to fruition. Start realizing that every single solitary second you're awake or you're sleeping or you're acting, it's magic. And start realizing that. Looking at the way that you treat others and the way that you allow yourself to be treated. Like there needs to be an ebb and a flow, and that's magic. And once you have that knowledge, put it toward things. You know, start small and then work bigger. And I really also want to talk about stuff like law of attraction and my thoughts on that and stuff like that. So maybe this will be like video 1, and just really kind of get into like the ways that you can make magic without having anything, so that people who are constantly like having excuses will look at these videos and be like, well, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I'll try that out before I give up. Because if you give up before you start, then whatever you start eventually is just, how strong is that going to be? Like, I hate, but I love the saying, whether you can or you can't, you're right. Because it's so frustrating, but it's true. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So I will leave you on that one. And I will try to do another video. Hopefully my mouth will not be in such tremendous pain. But yeah. So I'll do another video soon, guys. And until then, take care and many blessings. Bye-bye.